Welcome everyone. Very excited for our next talk by Klaviyo. We are going to be talking to John Palmer and Richard Gardner. The topic today is taking a walk in your customer's shoes across all channels. Rich is the VP and Global Strategic Partnerships for Klaviyo. Klaviyo is a growth marketing platform with more than 38,000 customers across the globe. Klaviyo is helping brands take back control by leveraging their owned marketing channel like email, web, and mobile to provide exceptional customer experiences. John Palmer is the marketing director for Hylete. Hylete is a digitally native DTC fitness and apparel brand. John Palmer knits together the customer data across all channels to deliver personalized and well-timed messaging that drives revenue, retention, and a sense of community. Welcome to you both. I'm going to hand over to you, Rich, and yeah, the stage is yours.
Great. Thank you, Yannick. We will take the virtual stage. Thank you, and thanks everybody for joining us today. I am Rich Gardner, the VP of Global Partnerships here at Klaviyo, as Yannick said. And for those that don't know, Klaviyo is a marketing platform that helps e-commerce brands build relationships with their customers, acquire new ones, and use data to create amazing experiences. I am especially excited today to be joined by John Palmer. John is the marketing director at Hylete and has been building that business for the last 7 years across various roles. John, thank you so much for joining us. I wish we could be in person doing this together, but Zoom will have to do. Please tell our audience a little bit more about yourself and about the Hylete story.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks everyone for having us on and tuning in. Hylete's actually out here in San Diego, so it's bright and early for me. But yeah, we're excited to kind of be taking the stage with Klaviyo and showing all the work that's gone in to making this one-to-one customer connection. That's sort of not having any brick and mortar retail and really embracing, from the second the business went live, 2012, only doing direct to consumer and having those customer records going back 7 years and integrating, really any step a customer can take on any of our own SaaS tools, our website, tracking that, building more comprehensive profiles, making smarter recommendations, communications, all that stuff spans every business, not just, performance apparel. So
I know that when you guys made the decision to build your business, you chose Magento as your platform, and then you paired Magento and Klaviyo together. I'm curious, and the audience may be curious about how you thought about pairing Magento and Klaviyo, and maybe why you went in that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. So our business, we're exercising, it's kind of an economic term, perfect price discrimination. And we actually have different customer groups that get different prices. So if you're a certified trainer, we think, you have a network we want to reach, we actually give you a pretty significant discount. Similar to our, we call it our service league, but military and first responders. They get an amazing discount with Hylete. Magento is really set up to do some of those customizations that when you log in, the entire site experience changes. And so for all the customizations, I don't think there's too many brands our size that have 2 or 3 in-house developers that are really kind of working on the back end on systems and automation. So we knew kind of from the drop, Magento was going to be the platform for us because we didn't want that out of the box experience. And the original reason we went with Klaviyo was we felt you guys were sort of best in class in segmentation out of the box for Magento. And we wanted to start kind of smartly segmenting our immediately and not, giving a promotion to a customer group that can't use it, just some of those bare bones things that could go wrong. But I think probably 2 or 3 years ago, we started to play around with the open source API and started connecting everything a customer could do and passing that information into Klaviyo for not just ability to segment within Klaviyo, but to push that data back out. So when our customer refers someone, does a review, places an order, opens an order confirmation email, just anything on the spectrum that they can do, we pass that data into Klaviyo, and that makes for better Facebook lookalike audiences, more personalized, flows, behavioral triggered messages, all that sort of stuff.
Thank you for walking us through that decision. It sounds like you've got a really robust integration between Magento and Klaviyo, and then with all your other tools pumping data into Klaviyo. And I think we have a slide coming up on that. But before we get there, I think one of the things that has struck me and others is the power of the community that Hylete has built around your brand. Can you tell us a little bit more about the community and the makeup of the community?
Yeah, I mean, we touched on it a little bit with some of the cohorts that really early on, we were like, these are people that we want on our network. We're willing to give up some margin. So the fabric of having all, 25,000 certified trainers, 30,000 military personnel, those help shape this kind of fitness lifestyle brand that we're in. But having that direct consumer model of being able to say, this person lives in this area, bought this, reviewed it in this way. We do a ton of community surveys and really try to make that a one-to-one experience. And any data we get from those surveys, we pass back into Klaviyo. So we say, hey, thank you for making your first order. We want to get to know you. Get $20 off your next order when you take this survey. And they tell us, oh, I'm really into running and I spend X amount of dollars on fitness apparel a year and I love the color red. We pass all that data back to Klaviyo. You can bet in that workflow that delivers them their code for taking the survey. We're like, might we recommend some red shorts for you? So it really is just taking that customer data that people are more than willing to give and share if you come off as an authentic brand, and giving it right back to the customer and kind of what they just told you they want.
Personalizing that experience, that does sound powerful. How over time have you and the Hylete team grown your community? So the title of our talk today is walking in the shoes of your customers. I guess, how did you start that journey of walking in your customers' shoes?
I started that journey selling our returns at fitness events in Southern California out of the back of a U-Haul, 7 years ago. But that was grassroots, and that was pounding the pavement. And as we've grown, and especially, I'm sure a lot of people tuning in are seeing the best CPA they've seen since 2015. It's leveraging paid social smartly to pull someone off Facebook, get that data so you can talk to them one-to-one. The worst thing is if they hit your site, you don't get their email, then you have to continue to pay to remarket to that same person.
So that actually brings me to my next question. Someone who is getting to know Hylete, they are looking at you guys for the first time. Maybe they've seen you in social, they've visited your website, but they haven't purchased yet. How do you get someone to go from each of those steps, seeing you for the first time in social? How do you think about this? Seeing you for the first time in social, visiting your site, eventually purchasing, and then becoming a repeat purchaser and an advocate for your brand?
Yeah. The very first step that you touched on is that mysterious top of the funnel that, but once they hit our site, I like to exercise channel prioritization. So we're doing everything we can do for you, on site. Then did we capture your email? If yes, we're talking to you via email. Did you opt into SMS? Then we talk to you there. Then can we only retarget you? And then the last step in that kind of journey is direct mail, and capture your email and get your IP address. We can look up your physical address, or if you placed an order, and you're not opting into any other channels, we have your billing address. We can send an API triggered direct mail there. but we give Klaviyo, visibility to all that. But we really go from lowest cost to highest cost per impression. So obviously you're paying nothing on the website to 45 cents an impression on, direct mail.
Right. And when that person is first getting to know you, that mysterious top of the funnel stage, I imagine one of the challenges is how do you eventually build trust between this person who's just getting to know you and Hylete the brand. And I'm sure there are lots of different ways to do that, but I'm wondering, how do you think about that at Hylete? How do you build credibility with that potential buyer who's just getting to know you? How do you build that trust over time?
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough and it's really challenging with someone who it's their first time coming. And we've A/B tested a ton of stuff, on our homepage where everyone's landing to share our story and our mission, and be more than products, but a brand, and tell that story and add value with our blog. Then the next tier down, if someone's interested enough in the brand to get interested in the product, it's kind of lowering that barrier of being the direct to consumer model, because we're selling shorts, clothes, backpacks, online. People can't try these things on. So we've invested pretty heavily in find your perfect short quiz. Our behaviorally triggered flows aren't just out of the box. Oh, here's the dynamic image that's pulled in from the website. Return to this product if you want. It's true product education. This is why we built this. These are the colors it's available in. And I mean, we've got probably 600 behaviorally triggered emails that really hold the customer's hand. And okay, did they open it? Did they click it? Yes. Okay, let's take this step. But that's only scalable if you build it in an automated way. I can't walk 100,000 customers. I can't lead them by the hand personally. So,
right, that would be a tall task. So continuing in the journey in the customer shoes, let's continue down the path here a little bit. And so consumer has now come to your site. They've seen these amazing reviews. They go and they make their first. They're considering their first purchase. What are you doing on your website to help convert them into that first buy?
So we do a couple of things. Yeah, I think this, even if you want to go maybe one more slide, Rich.
Sure.
Yeah, so this is Hylete's welcome series built in Klaviyo, and we actually track the acquisition source of anyone who comes into our world and have a different welcome series based on that acquisition source. So if you came from paid social, we know we need to deliver you the offer that you saw on paid social that brought you to the site, and we need to be good partners and deliver on what we said we were going to give you and educate you. You land on a blog page that we've had enough long-term work to build up some SEO credibility. That organic traffic might not know who we are, might not know we even sell apparel. And so on the right, you can see welcome to the community. Here's some more articles you might like. It's a welcome series tailored to people captured through our blog. So really speaking to that person as much as you can before they've placed an order as an individual. But you can see here, we've got 6 different welcome series for kind of the main buckets of how we acquire email addresses.
That one might be hard to read for folks zooming in. So feel free to follow up with me afterwards, or someone from the Klaviyo team. I know there's a lot of detail on there because of the sophistication, John, that you and the Hylete team, the sophisticated approach you've taken to the welcome series. Okay, so continuing the shoes of the Hylete customer, you have now built a relationship with this buyer. They've purchased, they've established some trust, some credibility with the brand. They've made a purchase. What do you do after that first purchase? What does the relationship look like between Hylete and this community member?
Yeah, I mean, it starts with order confirmation emails. We actually took a lot of, and this is something I think I've tried it with some of the other, not to call anyone out, but e-commerce platforms, but with Magento, we actually killed off the order confirmation email coming out of Magento, built that ourselves, and are triggering it transactionally out of Klaviyo. So I actually get analytic data on transactional emails. I can do upsell, cross-sell. I can trigger subsequent emails if someone clicks in the order confirmation. So it starts there, shipping, share with us post-purchase. Did they create an account with us? Did you make it into our loyalty program? Let's educate you on how that works. And so we kind of walk you through a pretty robust 45-day, stroll through our brand and everything we have to offer, from the charities we work with to, more brand education if you were just coming to the site and jumping in right away. But then on that day 45, we trigger that survey I talked about, hey, you've placed your first order. Hopefully you're digging the gear. You've done a review. Now we want to get to know you. And here's our order confirmation and shipping emails that, there's some pretty robust API events going on to get those out and looking good the way they're supposed to be. But yeah, we have our own web service that our amazing VP of technology runs that, is kind of that hub for making all these decisions and what goes customer facing, what gets passed to Klaviyo, what gets pushed to direct mail. So I'd be remiss if I didn't give him some credit.
Yeah, I ticked through a couple of the slides here as you were talking, John, including the order confirmation slide because you were speaking to it. But I'm going to pause here on the loyalty programs because you did just mention it in the customer journey, but I'm really struck by the stats here on this slide that the repeat purchase rate that you guys see at Hylete is so much higher than the industry average. And I know that this is showing up on the loyalty program slide, and maybe you would indeed attribute it entirely to the loyalty program. But I think the audience is probably struck by this stat like I am. What is it? What do you attribute this success to, or what things do you attribute this success to?
Yeah, two things, and then I'll absolutely answer your question more directly. To give us even a little bit more credit, that industry average is over lifetime, and that 45% is in the next quarter. So we're actually seeing that repeat purchase come almost immediately with some of these things that we've done instead of over the lifetime of the customer. And in terms of answering your question, everything we're talking about could be its own webinar, right? Like the loyalty program could be its own. All of these we're only scratching the surface, but loyalty program, surveys, personalization, hopefully not over communicating, being really respectful to people and communicating. I'll give you guys a shout out. You guys, I haven't seen it on any other platform, but you guys have a predicted next order tool that actually gives me the date with pretty good certainty of when someone's going to place their next order. And so, hey, I'm not sending anyone any emails until after that date, or unless they do something on some of our SaaS tools or on site to trigger a flow. And then it's the customer walking themselves. It's almost like a conversation. It's not being talked at. It's a conversation with their behavior driving what communications they're getting. So that's where I think we kind of differentiate ourselves from other apparel brands, that we take the time to do that.
Yeah, I'm curious. This might have come up on one of the community slides, but it's coming to mind here. I think everybody on this webinar has been living through a pretty unique time. The COVID-19 period over the last couple of months has.
My microwave in the background. That's how it's a unique time here.
That's right. That's just real life. So we're all living through this unique time, and there are lots of different elements of that. But the reason why this comes to mind for me on this slide, and maybe for our audience, is so many brands have been interacting with their communities in completely different ways over the last few months. We've seen it in, messaging about supply chain and logistics challenges and delayed orders, and manufacturing facilities making masks instead of the core product, like all kinds of things, right? And you've all seen it. You've seen it, John, I'm sure. I'm wondering, particularly for Hylete, has there been anything different about the strength of your community or how you've interacted with community members just in this last, 8 to 12 week period?
We've really taken an even harder look at what we're doing in terms of community outreach and not over communicating, as I said, because so many more people are spending time online. We've actually scaled back our sends, but our open rate has gone up. And I think that's us respecting our community's time with, they're dedicating more time to social and email and all these sort of things. So, that's one thing right off the bat. But the community is really what saved us, right? Big performance apparel companies, I won't, call anyone out, but decide to shift some of their brick and mortar inventory to, direct to consumer and grow that channel. It really adds competition to our space. And having that loyal customer base that, this is, again, a whole other webinar, but we've got 5,000 community members who have actually become investors and own equity in the brand through equity crowdfunding. And, having just a core customer base that we've been taking care of and respecting for years, not that that's replicable in this time for someone who's like just jumping in, but that's really what saved us, that I know we've got those years and years of doing this and having all these systems set up. We're not scrambling to do it in the last 3 months.
Thank you for sharing that, John, and definitely sign me up for that next webinar on your 5,000 community members who are actually investors in your business. I think that's really cool. Okay, sorry. Let me get us back on track here. I think, to tie it up as we come towards the close, it would be, you've done a lot of creative things with the customer journey at Hylete. I guess one question that might tie it all together is, John, how do you guys think about success? What does success look like or mean for Hylete as you think about this entire journey?
Yeah, this is a little peek behind the curtain, I guess, but it depends on at a executive level. Like, we're pushing towards profitability as soon as we can. We've seen Uber or some of these other companies that were able to operate for a long time without turning a profit as long as they were generating revenue. So we're at a very high level looking at margin, revenue, all those kind of things that drive the business. But that would not be something I would want our community, unless they're one of our investors, to worry about. I want people to feel connected to the brand. Like, there's 30 awesome people that work at the company, and that they feel like if they ran into someone on the street, they'd be like, "Oh my God, I love your brand." We don't want to be just another pair of shorts in your closet. We want there to be an emotive connection, and we want to add value for our community. That's why we take a lot of pains to put up amazing blog content and build out those 600 behaviorally triggered emails that are going to speak to someone on a more personal level. Because I come from that event background. I want to take that experience of seeing Hylete in an event and make it scalable for hopefully, millions of customers.
And when you think about what success looks like for you guys, as you just laid out, what advice would you give to folks in the audience who maybe are just starting out on this journey? You've been at it for 7 years with Hylete. Some others might be just getting started. What advice might you give yourself if you were to go 7 years back in time, or give these people just getting started today?
Yeah, I think the thing to acknowledge, and this dovetails into the advice, is this is a really new space. Like it is something that is constantly growing and evolving, and just because some software tool or e-commerce platform or whoever says, well, this is the way it is and this is what you get, I feel like someone new to the space might be naive enough to say, okay, great, and I'm going to work within these constraints. And there are going to be constraints that you have to play within, but keep asking those questions. Well, why can't I do this? Well, what would we have to build to allow me to do this? Because that's where some of our best ideas have come from, is pushing or saying, okay, well, it's not available out of the box. Let's do it ourselves with a custom module. Um, another drop in the bucket little story. So we launched our first backpack years and years ago, and we put it on Kickstarter, and we thought we were going to acquire some of Kickstarter's audience and become Hylete customers. When we looked at the data, it turns out we just pushed all our customers to Kickstarter. We actually built a crowdfunding platform to back products on our own site because we didn't want to give that margin to Kickstarter. So, something like that, where we're like, we could have said, oh, well, that's not for us. But we actually, had the development resources and pursued it enough to build something like that out. I mean, that's one of 100 examples, but that's my advice, is like, just because something's not available out of the box, you think you should be able to do something and someone tells you can't. Like, this is not done evolving, this whole e-commerce thing.
That sounds like some good insight and wisdom for the group. John, thank you for sharing that. And with that, and I think we do have some time for questions, but before we jump in, John, I want to say thank you to you and to Hylete for sharing your guidance and your wisdom with the audience today, and for being part of this webinar. We really appreciate it. I enjoyed it. I also want to say to the audience, if you'd like to find out more about Klaviyo, you can, of course, visit us at our website, klaviyo.com. And we are available until 5 p.m. today in the Magento virtual room. So come see us there. The good news about that virtual room, and my team wanted to make sure I didn't forget this, is we have a raffle competition for a Uni pizza oven, which looks super cool. It looks like it'd be set up great in your garden or your backyard for the summer. So that's another benefit of stopping by our virtual Klaviyo get-together. With that, I will hand it over to you, Yanak, and say thank you to the JH team, our partners at JH, and thank you to our partners at Magento for hosting Klaviyo and Hylete today. Yanak, all yours.
Yes. Thank you very much. Very insightful and engaging. I feel very humbled listening to that, John. I love the way that you harness and value your customers to the very smallest detail. I think it's something people probably don't do or overlook, I should say, unknowingly. And it's the small things that actually make a difference. And just listening to the talk, I felt very connected, and I was dotting about on your site, so looking at shorts. Well, you've won me over. We do have some time for some questions, so I'm going to quickly flick through. There's one that's come through, might be for you, Rich. There's Herschel that said, how would you advise small businesses to start using Klaviyo? What is the minimum we should be doing? When they mean smaller, they're saying smaller in bricks and mortar retail going online.
Yep.
They've already signed up with you as a customer, but it seems it's very complex. So I guess, also looking at this talk, it shows how Hylete are using a lot of advanced features, but I also know that Klaviyo can start from quite an entry level. So
that's right.
Maybe for you to pick up.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to. So at its core, and where Klaviyo largely began, is as an email tool, a marketing automation email tool. And email, I think, continues to be a very effective channel for building and cultivating relationships with customers, between a business, large or small, and their customers. I think you're right. John and the Hylete team have taken that concept of building relationship and gone to warp speed with it. But at its earliest stage, email is still a tool for relationships. So my advice would be to add the data that you have about your existing customer list and any other tools that you might be using that have data about your customers. Make sure you are integrating those into Klaviyo, if you have them, so that your communication to your customers is as informed, as personalized as possible, that those emails are tailored to what your customers want to hear. I would also say that even out of the box, if you will, Klaviyo comes with automated flows that are built in and templates that are built in to the platform. And I think that makes it a little bit easier to get started for someone just beginning.
Sure. No, thank you for that. Hope that answered that question, Ashil. John, one for you. This seems like a very comprehensive marketing strategy. What changes have you seen in the recent months to your marketing, and how do you think about the rest of the year? Like, I know one thing I appreciated that you cut things down, but I think there's a point where everyone's waiting before they continue along a route. What that route is I think everyone's trying to work it out now.
Yeah, I mean, we were really, I think it was probably January and Q4 last year, Hylete, we were really up against it on our social spend, and our CPA was some of the highest it's ever been with American elections and all this sort of stuff. And the fact that we've seen that huge decrease in our CPA and that right now it's holding steady, that is growing our list and growing our new customers at a pretty significant clip. And what I'm actually doing now is starting to bank customers for Hylete.
Yeah.
And say, okay, you're going to get all the behavioral stuff that you're telling us you want by your actions on site, abandoning your cart, viewing a PDP, whatever it is. But let's really pump the brakes on campaigns. And I'm going to make sure that you're sticking around and aren't unsubscribed and, when it comes time for Black Friday. So that's been a luxury, I guess, but that's kind of the spike in success of our paid traffic is allowing us to not overburden our repeat customers for revenue.
Sure. Yeah, there's probably needs to be a good balance between that of new acquisition and servicing your existing clients. Good. I think one more question, if we can, Rich. What trends have you seen at Klaviyo, and how are you thinking about the next few months on your side? Is there...
Yeah, sure. I think probably most folks on this call or on this Zoom would recognize that the last few months have been challenging, I think, for businesses of all kinds, including e-commerce businesses. I know that e-commerce, certain pockets of e-commerce have actually done quite well with the move to online shopping, but I think it's been a challenging time just in the world. I saw an interesting stat that probably floating around social media just in the last couple of weeks, that e-commerce spend accelerated over the last 8 or 12-week period, the same that it had grown in a 10-year prior stretch. So we can all agree that we've jumped a couple of years in e-commerce, which is likely great news for many people tuning in today. I think there will be some challenges over the next couple of months or next few months that we're going to have to figure out together. There's the macro challenge of a second COVID outbreak in Europe, in the US, North America. I think that would be a very, very real problem on many levels. I think from a business perspective, there are challenges around inventory and supply chain and logistics management that continue to be issues for companies to sort through. All of that said, there's no question the baseline for e-commerce has increased dramatically, and I think that there's a lot of opportunity for businesses today.
Yeah, no, very positive. No, thank you both. I think we've just come to our time. Appreciate both being involved with Meet Magento. And yes, for any of our audiences, there will be recordings that you could pick up after the talk. And yeah, please do visit Klaviyo at the Expo booth and sign up for their pizza oven. Good. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Yannick. Thanks, John.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.